Hi, it's Sandy Wiley. Welcome to my mental health channel, 50 Shades of Black and White, where I talk about borderline personality disorder, which is my mental illness. I talk about a lot of other personality disorders. I talk about narcissism. I talk about other mental health issues like post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, panic attacks, schizophrenia, bipolar. I talk about different types of therapies, my therapies, and my 58 years of living with mental illness and having it run in my family. What I am not is a professional therapist. I have no degree in psychology. I cannot give you a professional opinion. This is only my own personal beliefs. So just please realize that I'm only coming on here as a patient, telling you my own personal beliefs. I'm not coming on here as a professional, and I'm not coming on trying to push my beliefs onto anyone else. I only ask that you be kind in the comments. Lately, a lot of people have been very cruel. They are insisting that I'm trying to tell people not to go to therapy or get a therapist. I don't think I've said that, but if I have, let me correct myself. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. It's your life, okay? I'm just giving you my own personal opinions as a patient, not a therapist. I'm not telling you what you should or should not do in your life. That's your decision what you do. Okay, so I just want to clear that misconception up. That I'm not telling people not to get help, not to go to a therapist. I'm just telling you what I think of therapists, what I've been through with them, and just my opinions and my beliefs. If you like what you see, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, welcome to my channel. Please, subscribe. It's absolutely 100% free. The only thing is, please be kind, all right? Please be kind to me. Please be kind to other people who comment. We don't have to agree, but we do need to agree to be kind. And yes, borderline personality to me is a real diagnosis. Some people are saying that it doesn't exist, that it's not real. To me, it is real. Okay? Now, but today we're going to get a little bit away from talking about borderline personality disorder. Instead, what I'm going to talk about in this here video is growing up with a parent who has narcissistic personality disorder. And that would be my mother. Most people who are diagnosed with my personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, have, it can be genetics. A lot of times it's hereditary. It's not just hereditary. I mean, scratch that. It's environment, okay? It can be hereditary too, but it's environment. If you grew up in a chaotic, abusive household where, you had childhood abuse, childhood trauma, a lot of times as a result from that, you can, become borderline. My father was a paranoid schizophrenic. I did videos about schizophrenia. I don't want to get too deeply into it. They're delusional. Schizophrenics hear voices. They're out of touch with reality. They're fragmented. They can listen to the radio and think there's voices coming on the radio telling them to do something or going after them. I did videos on that, so I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is my narcissistic mother, because this video today is about having a parent with narcissistic personality disorder. Now, narcissists have a grandiose image of themselves. They have no empathy. This is my experience, okay? If you come on and say that's not true, okay. it's not true for you. But for me, I grew up with one. So I know how it's like to live with one. She was the worst mother in the world. Okay? She did horrific, horrific things to me. But she thought she was the best mother in the world. There's where the narcissism comes into play. How can you think beating up a child till they're full of, what's that red liquid? I gotta be careful because it's YouTube and I can be censored. Beating up a child until you see all red, okay, and leaving marks on a child is severe, severe abuse. Calling a child, I can't even say it. It's part of oral sex. I can't say these words on YouTube because they will ban me. But calling a child horrific names, telling a child to F you, calling a child, like, you can't even imagine. If someone ever called you this as an adult, I mean, and we're talking a little child, a very, very young child. Taking a child's toys and throwing them away. If they didn't pick up a toy, say, you know how children are. If they didn't put something away, she'd break it or throw it away. Going in a child's room, having a psychotic rage, and dumping everything out. No privacy, no at all. Dumping everything out, like trashing a teenager's room. Actually, an adult mother trashing a child's room. I mean, horrific, horrific things. Now, the thing about this is, to the outside world, she was a great mother because she put on this front, you see. So when people came over, she'd be baking pies, making chocolate chip cookies, and, you know, she'd have the image of, like, Leave It to Beaver's mother, you know, or I don't know who the epitome of of a great mother is in today's, you know, not Peg Bundy, not her. So to everyone else on the outside, because her house was immaculate. When I mean immaculate, you know, you could eat off the floors. You could do, you know how you swipe into the dust test? I mean, pristine, immaculate. She had knick-knack figures in there. You know, what is a knick-knack? I mean, I can't describe it. Like, I don't know. Like, you know how people have, like, little knick-knacks or whatever? These are little toys, but she had things like that, little knick-knacks, worth like $500 to $1,000. You know what I mean? So she might have a little figurine like this worth $300. Oriental rugs worth thousands and thousands of dollars. She didn't work. My father, what he did, he was a shipper. They make no money at all. What is a shipper? Someone who puts things in a box, tapes it up, and ships it out. That's what a shipper is called. Putting things in a box, taking it up, put the address on, and shipping them out. It doesn't pay anything. Oh, my mother would babysit. That's the only kind of job she had. What she would do is put the kids to bed all day, and when they were awake, put them in front of a TV screen. So she didn't do anything. She just smoke, put the TV on if they're awake, put them in bed. That's it. And to the outside world, you know, people who come over my house thought she was great. Why did they think she was great? Because you come in to this woman's home who's, you know, always dressed up and looking wonderful. Her house is spotless. She has, like, oriental rugs and, like, very expensive furniture. Her furniture, she went, the most expensive furniture store at that time was Allen's. You know, it was, like, pieces in that store were worth a lot of money. It wasn't like, I don't know. Lovitz or something. And she'd always have like homemade cookies, homemade pies, and it all looked, nice and cozy, you know. But in reality, it was a living nightmare for me. It was a living nightmare. She would put me down. One person commented that, and I was an only child too, that they got close to teachers in school. And I did too, I got close to Miss Sullivan when I was a young girl. Miss Sullivan was getting engaged to be married. She was a very nice lady. She was 25 years old at the time, and I thought of her as a mother figure. And I used to have crushes on these female teachers because I was looking for a mom. I didn't have one. No, I had a witch in who portrayed one. And when I would bring up like how close I was, she'd say like, "Oh, what are you, queer?" Yeah, she'd say that to a little girl because I said I felt close to my horrible. I mean, she said, "I'm the best mother in the world." This is what she would say to me. Look what I have to deal with. A crazy father, and I wouldn't even, I have to stay with him because of you. You're the reason I have to stay in my marriage. She said this to a little girl. I have to stay in my marriage because of you. That's what she said. If you weren't here, then I'd leave him in a minute. I mean, my father did leave, when I was 2 years old. He came back years later, but for several years I was alone with that witch, and I have amnesia, because when I was alone with her for like, I don't know how long they were separated, for several years, she did horrific things to me, and I can't even tell you, or I've never told. I don't know them myself because I've blocked them out. I dissociate. When you dissociate, you just step outside the reality of something and you disconnect. Like you pull the plug and you disconnect from the event. So I just completely dissociated, and I was so young, that, it was just horrendous abuse. Some of it I can't say because YouTube censors. But the narcissistic part was she really believed that she was the best mother. Now, I don't understand. I can't really comprehend that narcissistic belief, especially when it's so apparent that you're a witch. How can narcissists believe that they're like, they're the greatest? They're the greatest, It just blows my mind, Now, I can understand how other people believe that because she puts on the nice front, She puts on, the home-baked pies, the homemade meals, when friends came over for dinner, she'd make everything from scratch, and they'd have homemade desserts afterwards, nothing store-bought or anything like that. The house was spotless. I mean, she wouldn't let me, you couldn't, the pillows had to be perfect. You couldn't move anything. You couldn't leave a toy behind or she'd break it and she'd start swearing like, oh, you know what it reminds me of? You know that Christmas movie, The Burgermeister? No more toys! No more toys! He tripped over a toy and broke his leg and he said, no more, there will be no more toys. That was my mother. If you left a toy out, right? Like say I left this, say I left this on the floor or something, she'd throw it out. She'd probably rip it apart and then she'd throw it away. Just because you left it out. I mean, kids, leave things out. They might bring a toy, out in the living room with them, or You know what I mean? They do things like that, but to throw the toys away, you know? Like, hey, he's doing his yoga pose. But to throw, you know, and then no one knew this stuff, you know? Back then, it wasn't talked about. I never saw a psychologist or a therapist when I was younger, even though everyone told her that she needed therapy. Her best friend told her, you need to see a psychologist, and you need to take your daughter to one too. This is her best friend telling her that. Now, I wonder why she would say that. Makes you think. But, oh no! She's the best mother in the whole wide world. And people bought into this, you know, lie. This, you know. I remember telling a friend of mine when I met her at the park, I was at the park with my son, and she was at the park with her children, and we started talking, and she goes, oh, you know, I remember your mother. Oh, she made those homemade pies and cookies. She was so nice and this and that. And I said, she wasn't what you thought she was. And I told her the truth, because now I was an adult, you know, and she was dead. And my former friend started crying. She was like in a state of shock, you know, like, you know what I mean? When you find out something about someone that is totally contradicts everything that you believed about that person, it can put you in a state of shock. And then I felt really guilty for telling her this, because like, oh, I shouldn't have marred my mother's perfect image, because I didn't want to hurt the girl, you know. Well, she was a woman then with children of her own. I didn't mean to hurt her, you know, or like to mar her memory of my mother, because, you know, why do I want to upset her? It's over and done with now, you know. But that's the ironic thing about narcissists, that they truly believe they can do no wrong. They truly believe they're perfect, even when they're doing like horrendous like things, like severe child abuse. They can sit there and look at you in the face and say, I'm the best mother in the world, and truly believe it. It isn't like they're she really believed this shit. She was, you know, she wasn't just dishing it out to everyone around who would listen. She was truly, you know, believing it herself. I'm wonderful. Look at my house. It's spotless. Look what I do. I cook and I clean and I slave all day over the hot stove. Oh. And then I have to put up with your shit, you little brat. Leaving your toy, you know, in the living room or something, you know, not having everything, you know, 100% back in order, you know. It's sterile, like in a hospital. Everything has to be. And then, like, yeah, oh my goodness, oh goodness gracious, you know what I mean? It just blows the mind. I still don't understand about how narcissists can convince themselves that they're perfect. I really don't. When everything contradicts that, you know. And she really did believe it. It wasn't like she was lying to people, because I knew, because she would say it to me, and she really believed it herself, that she was wonderful and gorgeous and all that, you know, gorgeous and beautiful, and it just blows the mind. But, you know, living with that made me, you know, cover in shame, and I became I completely dissociated. I became a recluse. I didn't talk to people. I hid in my bedroom and closed the door, and I didn't come out. It was just horrendous. I had a horrible childhood, just unimaginable. But so that's what it's like. I mean, you grow up living in shame. You grow up living in fear. You grow up, you know, you feel so. The narcissist makes you feel so little and small, like you're worthless, you know, and they're so superior, you know, they're everything, they're it, they're the bomb, and you're nothing. And she had this, her best friend's daughter, Rebecca, those two are like this. You know, she was blonde. She swore. She smoked cigarettes. They'd be smoking and swearing, effing this and effing that. She blows cigarette smoke in my. I never smoked at all my life. I hate people who smoke. She blow the smoke, and my father be smoking on one side of me, and my mother on the other, and I'm the only child. I'm trying to eat dinner, you know, that she'd make me eat. She made me eat it, and I was so sick, I vomited. I used to vomit the food out because she forced me to eat it. But can you imagine while I'm eating, my father's on one side of me and my mother's on another, and they're blowing smoke in my face? So I'm gagging because, you know, all this heavy smoke, like two people smoking, one on each side of you. You know, I sat in the middle, and I'm literally gagging and vomiting on it. Oh, it was just horrible, horrible, horrible. You know what I mean? Nowadays you can't smoke in restaurants. They don't allow it because secondhand smoke. But we're not talking about like someone at another table smoking, you know, at a restaurant. We're talking about they're right beside you, you know, smoking, two people and blowing it in your face that you're vomiting. It's so sickening. It's disgusting. And well, I could go on and on, but if you have ever been raised by a narcissistic parent, you know, really, it's a living hell. It's a living nightmare. And this is why I, you know, developed, you know, having borderline personality disorder. So let me know, you know, I don't even know. They say narcissism can't be cured. My belief is it can't be cured. Now, you can come on and tell me, yes, it is, or yes, it can be. But my strong belief is it can't, you know. Maybe if someone really, you know, wants help. But part of a narcissist is to think they're superior. So if you think you're superior, how could you want help? How could you ask for help? You don't need help. My mother's best friend said, you need help to her. Of course she doesn't need help, you know. She's the best mother in the whole wide world. I did a video, I'm glad my mother's dead. I'm glad my mother's dead. It's here somewhere. I've did like almost 1,500 videos. But I did that, and I talked a lot about that. But I wanted to come on and talk about this and tell you, you know, this is, you know, the way I am because of what's happened, and I've been re-traumatized in my therapies. But I'm not going to go into that anyway. But I don't think the narcissist can get help because they're narcissistic. They think they're too good. They don't think there's anything wrong with them. If you don't think there's anything wrong with you, then how do you get help? You see what I'm saying? You think you're perfect. So it just contradicts everything that the narcissist thinks about themselves. So how could they go for help? Maybe if they're married to someone, their partner might try to force them into therapy. Maybe they'll pretend. They're great at manipulating and pretending things, like my mother was. Great at you know, they're probably fool their charmers. They could fool the therapist. I'm sure they can. But in order for them to get help, they'd really have to think that there's something wrong with themselves. And the whole point of being a narcissist is they think they're perfect. They think they're superior. So my opinion is no, a narcissist cannot be helped. Most of them. That's my opinion. You can disagree. We can all disagree. But please be kind in the comments. All right? Be kind. That's all I ask. Be respectful. Until next